The summer after my first year of teaching, I decided to teach summer school. Teaching summer school that year was not the best idea, not because of the unpleasant experience that my students and I had, but because I was expecting my first child. As luck would have it, my wife went into labor the night before summer school started. That's called life. So I went back to school 3 days later when she came home with our daughter. The bell rang, 2 students came in. 5 minutes into class, it was still these 2 students. I stopped and asked what was going on. They both started giggling. One of them said, "Mister, you really want to know the truth?" I said, yeah. I said, "Mister, on Monday there were 22 kids in this class. When they found out you were the teacher, they all stopped coming." I didn't laugh because I was stunned. Stunned and speechless, I asked, "Why are you 2 here?" They're like, "Oh, we need to graduate. This is the only class holding us up. So we are good. We only have 4 weeks to deal with you." So I continued with the lesson. On my 2-hour train ride home that evening, I cried like a baby. I cried because I was asking this question, why? Why did I leave my 3-day-old daughter at home to go try to teach students who apparently did not want my help? But giving up was not an option for me because of the reason I became a teacher. I became a teacher to empower young immigrants to live a life that my baby sister did not have after she was denied visa to seek medical treatment in the US after medical treatment was exhausted back home in the Gambia where I came from. The only question for me was, how do I change this narrative? In figuring out how to change my approach, I came across a quote from an American motivational speaker by the name of Jim Rohn. The quote said, "Success is something you attract by the person you become. You don't pursue it." In other words, you cannot provide what you do not possess. If I want to have a joyful, kind, and empathetic classroom, I need to demonstrate joy, kindness, and empathy in my classroom. In trying to figure out how to improve my own and my students' performance, I have learned that graduation rates are linked more to validating our students' experiences than test preps. When I started to take the time to spend time to learn about my students' stories, their experiences, their backgrounds, that's when our relationship transformed. Because you see, my first year of teaching, while I was jumping up and down about the French Revolution, the child in front of me did not eat breakfast. I learned my 3rd year of teaching that only 28% of my students were going to college. And out of that, 50% would drop out within a year. When I dig deeper, I discovered that the rest of them were going to work at minimum wage jobs. I knew that was going to lead to a cycle of intergenerational poverty, and I knew something had to be done. Sometimes we are always looking for a path, and there are times where you have to go where there are no paths and leave a trail. So I decided to do something about this and went on a quest to figure out how to help my students live meaningful lives beyond the classroom. What I have learned led to the creation of the morning class. Why is it called the morning class? Because when I came up with the concept, I had no name. Teachers, we know how that works. One of the students said, "Well, since it's going to happen in the morning, let's just call it the morning class." I don't know about you, but at times when you have students in your class in which their friends listen more to them than they actually listen to you. Yeah, so over the years I tried to change the name. Everybody still calls it the morning class. Let's just leave it like that. The morning class is a before-school program that empowers kids to live a meaningful life in the world, socially, professionally, academically, and economically. It is built on 5 essential skills: developing the right attitude and mindset, creating a clear goals and vision for the future, communication skills, leadership, and financial management. Well, we start with mindset and emotional mastery. This is when students are able to uncover their goals, their beliefs, their vision, and their values in order to transform their lives. This leads to a daily practice of gratitude and journaling. And when students are able to uncover their emotions and have the language to express their feelings, that's when their self-worth begins to take shape. It is difficult, if not impossible, to strive for something you cannot see. So the second component of the program focuses on developing a clear vision and goals for the future. This is done through a dream board activity where students are able to create 3 components: personal goals, professional aspirations, and social contributions. And they will gather together to work on their social contribution goals to effect change within their communities. This has led to multiple community service projects, such as working at homeless shelters, planting trees in the Bronx, and creating a video series to educate families and to help teens to combat teen pregnancy, which video now has been used with over 500 families in the Bronx. The third component and the fourth is communication and leadership. This is when students are able to develop effective communication skills through speaking, proper eye contact, and proper handshake. And they're also able to uncover their values and rules that guide their life so they could set their own standards, as well as teach others how to treat them. And the last component is financial management, where students go ahead to open bank accounts, investment accounts, and build their credit history. At the core of the program are the weekend retreats that we take. Twice a year, we'll go away for an entire weekend for students to reflect and plan their futures. The most difficult part of this weekend, however, is during our forgiveness exercise. Because my students come from a lot of traumatic experiences, and they've been carrying a lot of pain with them over the years. And this would be the first time they will have the opportunity to express those emotions. Over the years, I have heard it all. I was raped when I was 12, and today is the first time I'm talking about it. My father left when I was 2, and he still doesn't want anything to do with me. I'm gay, and I'm not sure how to tell my parents. If my father dies tonight, I will not shed a single tear. How do you forgive somebody who continues to intentionally hurt you? These are difficult moments, but what ends up being special about it is how students support each other during the weekend, throughout the school year, and beyond. Because their motto is, we are in this together. And as a teacher, when you have 50 kids looking at you and seeking answers to issues you have no answers for, all I could do is to ensure them that their past would not equal their future. Because it is the choices that we make that determine the lives that we live. My job then is to get them the proper counseling that they need. Upon our return from the weekend retreat, I connect them with professionals within and outside of our building so that they could get the proper care that they need in order to overcome that aspect of their life. When this program first started, everybody thought this would not work because our students are notorious for coming to school late. And this takes place an hour before school. People said, students who don't come to school on time, what makes you think they're going to come an hour early? Doesn't make any sense. I do know one thing, though. We all spend time where we see value. So the first year of the program, 28 students joined the program. 29 students, 100% graduated, 100% went on to college. The second year, 42 students, all 42 graduated, 40 out of 42 went into college. The 2 that did not were undocumented. Last year, over 70% of our graduating seniors were actually coming to school an hour early. As a result, our graduation rate went from 31% when I started at my school to 84.9% last year. While those numbers are great, what I appreciate more than anything are the personal transformations I witness in my students. Each graduate has a vision board and a plan for what they want to achieve and contribute in this world. Each one of students who have joined this program have quit drinking, binge eating, joining gangs, doing drugs, and dropping out of school. That was not something I thought about when this program started because the idea was to empower them financially. And a quick story on that. I always joke with my students, if you succeed, you have to give me 10%. And they're like, sure, mister. So two years ago, I had this Yemeni kid who said, we went through a financial education seminar, and upon our return from the weekend, he was like, mister, wallahi, I'll give you 30% when I succeed. He never went to college, but today he owns 3 grocery stores in New York City, making more money than me. I still did not receive my 30% yet. For me, at this point, it's just a feeling of gratitude because the day I was announced as the 2019 New York State Teacher of the Year, over 100 of my former students showed up to school within 4 hours. They have traveled far and wide. One of them got on the train from Baltimore that day to be with us. She was the first student who entered my class the first year of teaching. She said, mister, I came to say 2 things. I said, yes. Number 1, how horrible you were the first year. Okay. But number 2, to also tell you something I've never mentioned before. I said, okay. When I was in your class, the lessons, and by the way, I ended up teaching that kid for 3 consecutive years. God bless me. Okay. Said, when I was in your class, the lessons I was learning not only helped me, but they helped transform my family. Because my mom was battling cancer when I was in your class, and the lessons I was learning, I was passing them on to her. Said, my mom passed away 6 months ago. But the day she passed away, the poster hanging over her bed came from your classroom. And the poster reads, to live is to suffer. To survive is to find meaning in your suffering. My mom had meaning in her life because of you. I said, oh, thank you so much. What then I have come to realize then is my students come from 30 different countries. They come from different backgrounds, different beliefs, different cultures. At the end of the day, here is what I know to be true. We are all seeking the same thing. What I want, what you want, what our students want, what everybody you will ever meet wants is one thing. We are all seeking validation. If we can help to validate our students' experiences, their academic world will transform. Because as students' personal lives develop, their academics will follow. Thank you.